Alright. Welcome back, comrades. Hope I'm coming through okay. As you can see, we finally hit affiliate. Thank you, one and all. I have added a new feature to the point system since Perry was on here. I didn't really have enough time to polish it, but it should work well enough for today's stream, anyways. Here we go. I'll just leave this screen up for a little bit. Get the usual word out if I can. There we go. What? Oh. Okay, here we go. Okay. Then I need to... where do we go here now? Here we go. I'm just gonna... There we go. Okay. And then... that's not the right place. This is... Oh, I should probably make sure that you can actually see... There we go. I didn't realize that was still off. Sorry about that, comrades. Okay. Let's see. Almost done here. And... Alright, and I believe that's everywhere. Yep. Yep, that's it. Alright, we can get started now. Sorry for the delay. Just close out of that. Okay, continue. Yes. The Old Bailey courtroom, where last we left off. Oh, they got a whole jury this time. At least I think that's what that is. So this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Gotta get it in my vibe here, sorry. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, yes, what? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh, there's our Van Zeke's character, I imagine.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld.
Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English?
Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me. Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes.
Now, Mr. McGilded.
Yes, my lord. How do you put an Irish accent on that?
You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner?
As I've always said, my lord, it is a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fellow is a student from some little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded, what a fine gentleman London has in him. Didn't you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please, may we go and play in McGilded Park? It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news. He certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him.
Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, my lord! If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready! At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they'd never set eyes on me!
I feel a chill.
Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I've just been getting on with my knitting. I must finish these bits for my grandson. Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... The jury. Yes, that's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right, I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. What is with the third guy? The third guy kind of scares me. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it'll become clear as the trial progresses. Yes.
Prosecutor of Antiques.
My lord.
It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame.
I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity.
So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware?
I leave that to your imagination, my lord.
So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years.
Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback?
Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruto!
Ah, hello, Spiker. Good to see you.
As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please.
Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity.
We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware.
The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was the maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason.
Sorry? Thrice?
He was a very accomplished craftsman. Bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible.
The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard.
Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence.
Autopsy report's been entered into the court record. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. And one further item of evidence. Before we go on any further, I would like to examine it. Oh, never mind. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife ulcer. Okay, internal hemorrhaging. Yep. And then there's this. Okay. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well.
And these are... Good Lord, is that blood, Counsel?
Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested.
What? Mr. McGilden's gloves had blood on them?
Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well.
The defense level gloves have been entered into the court record. Alright. How did I get into this? This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with on our first day in London.
Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilden right-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really.
Is there anything else to be seen in on or in these gloves? No? Huh. That's weird. Normally when there's things to examine like this, there's at least 2 hotspots. That is weird. Okay, yeah, no, this is the same thing. Alright. guess we'll just leave that for now.
I'm backed into a corner before I'd even started.
Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time.
Only 2?
Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded.
Well, rather damning circumstances, to say the least. Defendant, what say you?
Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded! To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness and I always succumb to it.
Are you claiming to have been asleep?
'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Little dim so it is. When I opened my eyes again, it was a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in me life. Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I was about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed.
Unfortunately, that statement of the drivers is only the beginning.
What? That's not all of it?
There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed.
Order! Order! Order!
When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused.
Thank you, Consul. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all.
Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once.
Really chilly guy. Okay, so we got 3?
Witnesses, your names and occupations.
My name is... well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End.
Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city.
My name's First, Lady First. I, make hats for jets.
Let's begin by confirming the facts.
This is going to be a lot of voices to remember, jeez. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening,
All of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
quite right.
Yes, sir, that's right, sir.
Very well then, let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw.
Is that guy's head turned sideways so it looks like a coin? Face. Profile. Is he hiding something on the other side of his face?
It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well.
The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Okay, so he's not hiding anything.
That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too.
Alright, we're gonna be doing some pressing, I think.
ambiguous testimony, I must say.
Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may.
Yes, counsel.
Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
Why not?
Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage. Oh, great. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you even traveled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage?
Bailiff! Bring forth this stricken omnibus!
So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside in the enclosed cabin and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof, allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Skylight. Oh! The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the gloomy incident. Through the skylight. That makes perfect sense.
Well, counsel, this is a first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom.
There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish.
Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence.
He's your omnibus, they'll see it behind their passengers both inside the carriage and on the roof deck that night. Okay. I can't believe that the entire crime scene entered as evidence! Yes! Great Britain is simply extraordinary! I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here way ahead of Inosuke. Alright, let's examine the whole thing. Well, let's open the door and go inside, shall we? The scene of a murder. It's horrible. This is interesting. Okay, what about this? That's blood that's soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passengers like that, I wonder? Well, it was after dark.
And there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. Whichever way you look at it, it doesn't seem like it was a planned attack.
Okay. What's this?
Ah, that's a poster for the great exhibition due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. Ooh, the Crystal Tower! It's under construction already, I believe. People all over London must be fizzing with excitement at the prospect of such a grand event.
There's the light. There's the skylight.
It's quite a large skylight, isn't it? Yes, quite large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck.
And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description. So I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabinet, at least. Maybe it can be opened from outside. What's this? Does that pull out? This seat has a handle, it seems. Oh, it pulls up! Alright.
This looks like all sorts of equipment that might be needed to keep the omnibus running. Feeding tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. So it's a storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things, it seems.
There doesn't seem to be any space for passengers to stow their luggage, that's for sure.
Well, I don't imagine it would be very convenient for that purpose anyway.
There's an empty space over here, though. Nope. Okay. Okay. So we have that storage compartment, this poster. Oh, this is just the same thing. Crystal Tower, okay. Anything out the windows that can be seen from... Nope, okay.
Have you seen enough? Let's step back outside then.
Do I still have an echo? Why do I still have an echo? Is it this? Hang on, I think I know what might be causing it. Let's see. Where is... Oh, I already closed it? Okay. Testing. Okay. So it's still on. I don't want it to be on, I want it to be off. This. End it. Okay. Did that fix the echo, Aurum? You know, it's kind of hard to maintain proper posture in the seat that I'm in. I'd really like to turn the face cam back on, but I can't because I might get surprise guests from the doorway. Let's see. Okay, so something's amiss with voice mod then, the program I'm using. Okay. What's this? Nothing. This is the top deck. Jobmasters London head office. I can't look at the bottom. I can look at the back. Phoenix Wright. Can't find anything out of place. Phoenix Wright Omnibus. Nice. Alright. Let's have a look at this top deck here.
So this is the roof deck of the omnibus. Oh, you must have a wonderful view of London streets from up here.
So people sit all the way up here on bitter winter nights with the cold air rushing past them? And they have to pay money to do so?
I can't imagine how cold it must feel.
That just made me think of something horrible. Can you imagine being dragged around the city in the freezing cold as a punishment?
Perhaps that is the real price you pay to stay out late.
What's this? No? Okay. What about this? Is there a... What I want to know is there a way to open the skylight from the top? Oh, there is. It's right there. You can certainly see inside the carriage through this opening, that's for sure. Yes, and there's a lamp in the enclosed cabin. So I'm sure the witnesses would have been able to see quite clearly. That's not good for us. Why aren't you noticing the latch? Oh well, that'll have to do.
Let us continue with proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel.
Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights.
Alright, my first cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Ryunosuke. Focus! It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. I will press. Yes, I think it was sometime after 10, wasn't it? Oh, yes, sir. That's right, sir. Yes, even so cold, ever so cold it was, sir. Freezing, in fact. Okay. You had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus, of course, though. No. Normal. Okay.
And there were no other passengers when the incident took place. No one alighted, for example.
You're quite right with that, sir. No other passengers like that. No, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then. I have to say, the boss insists on running. He does. Every evening. That last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Yes, sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yes, I spent that much of the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again.
The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus.
Hold it! And you saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage?
That's right. When you sit up on the top deck, the window's right there at your feet.
Normal.
There was a lamp on the inside, so I had a pretty good view. The 2 of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded.
How can you be so sure?
Well, how can I put it politely? McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature.
Normal, okay.
I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else.
Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There is no room for doubt there.
I really wish there was.
Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
Hold it! You actually saw the exact moment it happened?
Didn't I already testify to that? Our fair dinkum hard-working city bankers not considered trustworthy these days.
No comment, comrades. Oh, no, I didn't mean that! This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail, if that's...
My lord! Juror number 3, what's the meaning of this?
My mind is made up, my lord! Completely and utterly made up! Made up about what?
I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me.
Oh dear.
There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That's precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors.
What the? What is happening here? Let me see. Ah, yes, it seems that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently, yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case, one by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice, as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen! Now I'm even more worried than I was before.
Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination.
This is a nightmare. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed I did, couldn't help it.
Hold it!
He stabbed him, you say, and you were sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I'd been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absentmindedly around. But then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly, that huge, great knife!
A grim sight indeed.
Ah! It didn't help me at all. The jury looked like they're even more convinced my client did it than they were before. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious that Mr. McGilded is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions.
Mr. First,
Oh, yes, sir?
is this the knife you saw?
Oh, is this the evidence? Oh, good grief, yes, that's it, the very one, sir! Is that?
Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart.
That is a blade of considerable size, counsel.
It is. And furthermore, the scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar.
Please no.
M for Magnus, perhaps? Or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems this particular big name in London made a magnificent mistake.
But there are M's everywhere! Yes, like in Mason!
Objection!
This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused.
Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel.
Largish knife that was found lodged in the victim's abdomen. Its quality and fancy ornamentation suggest it must be quite valuable. Okay. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. That part is the sheath, isn't it? Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, sorry, yes, I just don't really like blades. Oh, those don't seem like the words of a man with a large katana slung from his waist. That's not a blade, that's Kazuma's soul. Anyway, there's no sense in delaying it. Let's see what the blade looks like. It looks a lot like blood. It surely is blood. The victim's. An Englishman's blood looks a lot like a Japanese man's blood. Did you think it wouldn't? Sorry, it's just that we've only just arrived here in Great Britain. I'm finding it a little hard to adjust. Yes, I do understand. An ornate letter M, undeniably Mr. Magnus McGilded's initial, and it's beautifully gilded too. It must be very valuable, I should think. Ah! What is it? Look at this M. Is that not a W? If you turn it upside down, it becomes a W. This could change everything! A W? Yes, this is one of those, turnabout cases. I'm sure of it! I'm afraid I don't know at all, but what I am sure of is that this is an M. Oh, well, that idea was quickly quashed. Oh dear, that's unfortunate. Had hoped that we were onto something there. How do you know that's an M, not a W? That looks like the W in Wonka, for example. Okay. Yeah, this is... We're all done here, I think. Okay.
Drawer number 2. Go on.
Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman's words should be sacrosanct. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish! Yeah, those three I had a feeling were unwinnable from the start. No! I don't wish to cause offense, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word uttered here today and cross-referenced all the facts. As such, I am now in a position to draw the only logical conclusion. Then we've already lost. Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose I'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fly. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... all right, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too! Hold it! What exactly did you see? Oh, well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Yes, collapsed on the floor he was.
And by the passenger, obviously you are referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker.
And then the other passenger had the knife in his hand like this.
By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded.
And then he plunged down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. That contradicts the... That contradicts what they were saying.
Excuse me.
If I may, Mr. Fairplay,
What are you fussing for now?
that last statement appears to have given you pause for thought.
Not really.
By the way, you always seem to be looking to the side, one way or another. Do you have some affliction?
Not really.
He's not really willing to say anything, it seems.
It's none of your business anyhow!
Alright, so when it happened, the only two people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... Before we jump to conclusions, our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witness statements again, a little more carefully this time. Okay, I think I need to finish the pressing here properly. Passenger, sir, yes, collapsed on the floor. By the passenger, obviously, brickmaker. The knife in his hand, like this.
By the other passenger, obviously you are referring to the accused Mr. Magnus McGilded.
And then he plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What?
My lord, I wish to speak! Yes, sure, number 5. Do I take it that you too? As the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all of the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say.
No, please, just keep an open mind a little longer. Up now, Silver Blaze! The finish is in sight!
Beppo is a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says.
Oh, thank you, sir. You're too kind, sir.
This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agree to condemn this man. Madam Juror number 6.
Yes, dear. What can I do for you?
You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in this stand.
Oh, yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know.
Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning?
Well, dear, the thing is, I am a creature of habit, me. I always go to the park at around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donated it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library later and borrow some more books?
How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know what kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is?
What kind of a man is he?
The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls.
What? Stone the crows!
McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak.
I've never heard any mention of that before.
Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service?
You're not saying that...
The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts.
Good gracious!
The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house, he had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him. His life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded!
I don't believe it! If I might add something briefly, Miss Susato? You claimed the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where's the evidence to support your claim?
Yeah, this guy's totally a vampire.
Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law.
Ah, there it is! Lord Van Ziek's hallowed chalice!
How could this be considered acceptable?
But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself.
As judicial assistant to defense, I am simply doing my job.
But the pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside.
Oh,
Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time.
A marvelous toast, Counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence.
People who about 20 guineas. Okay.
Oh yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum.
Okay. Okay, let's open it. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets of London's gentry.
oh dear. Do you really think we ought to look inside?
Well, it's not as though we know any of London's gentry personally, is it? Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder.
I assure you we will not find Mr. Sholmes' name inside.
Well, let's see what we find. Okay, that's all the same, and let's read it.
Gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it?
Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off.
Ah, goodness!
What is it?
Look at this! Do you see the name here?
Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually. These guys are all conspiring against McGilded because they all owe him money, and if he is out of the picture, yeah. If I had my music bot set up, this would be the point where I start, where I pull up the "Thank You Very Much" song from the from that Scrooge movie starring Albert Finney. There's a song in the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come part where everyone's cheering that Ebenezer Scrooge has done something absolutely wonderful for all of them, and they're all cheering for him, and they break into song like, "Thank you very much, thank you very much, that's the nicest thing that anyone's ever done for me." Yeah, just look up Scrooge "Thank You Very Much" at some point. And of course Scrooge is there, but like as a ghost,
and seeing all of this play out, and he's like, "Oh, I did something wonderful, great." But it turns out, of course, that wonderful thing is that he died, and they're rolling out a coffin from his from his office, and he doesn't notice it, and like he's dancing along with them, singing along with them, and doesn't realize through the whole thing that they're celebrating that he died. Yeah, I think they're trying. I think these guys may be trying to set up McGilded for a similar end for similar reasons. He had died. If he dies, then their debts are void. So they're doing this. They're doing this so they don't have to pay back their loans. So we've established a motive for the witnesses to lie about this. Bruce, fair play, the witness testifying at this very moment? Oh, yes, of course, the banker. Why is his name in here? He borrowed 20 guineas, did he? And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information. Details of the debtor's ledger have been updated in the court record. Okay, sweet. Okay, yeah, this is all just the same. All right, we're making progress, but I think we may be about to be screwed.
And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused.
It's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel! Still, maybe it's all for the best.
Oh, wait a minute, let's think about this a little more before...
I don't stand for nonsense!
Just like that, I lose? No, something's gotta happen here. This can't be right. That was it. The last juror's decision.
According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here.
The final verdict. It's over then.
Oh! There's a footnote, though.
A footnote?
However, the defense...
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case.
Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision.
According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Miss Susato, just tell me one thing.
Oh, yes?
You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next?
Oh, yes, of course. One moment.
You didn't hold the page? Wow, okay.
The defendant is guilty, course proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point.
Summation examination?
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected?
Ah!
Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text from British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck.
Oh. What even is it, Miss Susato? This so-called summation examination. Oh, one moment and I'll read about it.
You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Typical Nipponese.
Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly? Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions.
Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use.
I wonder why.
Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age.
Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked.
What are you suggesting?
We're gonna do it anyway because we're desperate. Typical ace attorney. I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? I think fair play being on the debtors list is going to be crucial here. A summation examination, our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out, or admit defeat, assert our right? The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure.
This guy's fake Transylvanian accent. I just keep getting heavier and heavier with it. I gotta lay back because he doesn't sound like he has that at all when he shouts his objection line.
Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial.
The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination.
This is madness.
Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready?
Ah! Well, I'm not... there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so...
All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision.
And if any of them involve fair play, I present the ledger, and we win.
On what grounds? You must all justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty.
Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before.
I don't really hold with all this justifying lark.
That seems to have thrown the jurors off. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, is it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for to turn this trial around.
So be it then. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant Magnus McGilded guilty of this most serious crime.
Judicial findings. The jurors' contentions. This is just going to be like the cross-examination, but with the jury.
There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
Don't have that. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. Okay, yeah, you can trust the driver.
He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen.
He's hopeless. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. Can I press her on that?
You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices of up 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor! It beggars belief!
Stabbing the poor man on the floor, that didn't happen. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Okay. So we don't break out the fair play thing just yet. He was not stabbed on the floor. There is no blood stain on the floor of the carriage. It is on the seat of the carriage. This doesn't add up. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. I'm just gonna double check. Make sure I'm remembering right. Did I even check the floor? I know I checked the seat, and the bloodstain was on the seat. Okay, yeah. The bloodstain is over here. It wasn't a planned attack, also. Okay. Let's step out of here. And, yeah, we've seen what we need to see. Let's go back.
Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works.
Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant.
Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says.
But then...
They've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become.
Then what on earth am I supposed to do?
Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo.
Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work, then?
Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments.
What do you mean?
Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together.
And that's the way to break them down, you mean?
Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other.
I see. So it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination.
Oh, yes, I suppose you're right.
Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. All right, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off!
Can we stop proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal.
Yes, my lord. The defense's rebuttal.
There's no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
Trust the driver, excellent memory, 4 passengers, fares totaling 20 pence. I don't have anything to contradict that. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Ah, you idiot! Pit against you.
Objection.
Easy. Those 2 statements are completely contradictory!
What? Explain, counsel, post haste.
Oh, dearie me, I was only knitting a jumper for my other half.
What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you?
We've heard from more than one witness. They allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3.
What? Can't you see that I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
Ha! Want to test me, do you? It was like this! Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony, quite true.
Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do you for, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this! He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move! Take a look at these two jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, and he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor.
Well, I never! They're stabbing in totally different directions.
What? Bless my stitches, what a muddle! What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh! But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet. But what I do know... Well, Ryunosuke might not know, but I do. Where is the present ledger button? Is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies. The scales.
I don't believe it! Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all.
If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this?
Answer me this, Dark Jinx.
Huh? Me?
What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of events?
What of it?
Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again, and this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, hmm? Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why I should take this knife to you?
Who are you calling old? Why I should take this needle to you? They're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? It's out of the question. There's no blood stain on the floor. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman...
What is it, you Dark Jinx? Come on, out with it!
What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question.
Huh? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize that I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man?
I was hoping you'd ask.
That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof.
Looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish.
What?
I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by... this. This clear piece of evidence. Well, Mr. Foreman? Oh, do I have to examine it and then...
Do you know what they say about me, young man? They say I've got no powers of persuasion.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry to hear that.
But no one will need persuading about this! You're even worse than me! Ah!
Two different moments. In other words, the victim was stabbed 2 times. Ah, but we have evidence that clearly contradicts that possibility. If you'll allow me another chance, I'd like to present you with one more piece of evidence to consider. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw 2 different moments of the same crime, as proven by... Oh, right, I have to do this. Let's go inside. Yeah, I forgot. You gotta do this. It's proven by... this. Wait, I can't? Oh, single stab wound in the autopsy report. Duh! Okay, present this. This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once.
Only once?
It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times. Alright, I concede defeat.
Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it!
I didn't expect him to turn around. I thought he was going to be, like, hard-locked forever.
If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue.
2 more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions.
Then that's where you must strike next.
So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions.
Exactly. You can do it.
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on this side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination.
I'm no lover of the rich, but I despise liars even more. Innocent is my call for now, at least.
Simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far. Trust the guild. Haven't raised our Wait! Haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. 4 passengers. This total should be 16 pence, if that's true. So... you two, fight to the death! Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other.
They do? Explain yourself, counsel.
Me? Oh, dear, what have I said?
I swear on Silver Blaze's maiden name I haven't the first idea what you're talking about!
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares.
Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me.
And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
That it is. A fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts.
Why, man, why?
4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication...
It'd be 16 pence.
Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes! In other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious!
This can't be right! The coachmen at the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword.
The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy.
I beg your pardon!
Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus.
All right then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end,
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocent side of the set of scales.
Now hold your horses there, coachman! We were all in agreement! Why do you have to go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo!
Oh boy.
This is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same.
Oh, okay, so there's no evidence that I have to present this time. All right.
For the love of Mike, not you as well!
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again.
Wait, that means... I know, right, Spiker? I'm loving that angle too. Me here, a totally not Russian spy, manipulating Japanese affairs in a British court of law. It's great. I love it.
4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won!
What are you playing at, you dandy fool?
Shut your trap, sir! No one deceives me!
But we had a consensus!
I said shut your trap! I know a liar when I see one! And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head!
Please tell me he's a barber. Spoinker, to clarify, they all concluded guilty, but we weren't necessarily going for all not guilty just yet. We just needed a majority not guilty to overturn the ending of the proceedings and force the trial to continue. That's all that we were hoping for there. In this sense, it's still a victory.
Quite remarkable turn of events. The defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. Jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth.
The bloody Barak, his blood would be boiling in his veins right now if he had any. Am I right?
Lord Van Zeeks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
Well, speak of the devil, or Dracula, I guess.
Oh boy!
Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice,
You just smashed it in your hands.
it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy.
Lord Van Zeeks!
Is it cold in here, or is it just me?
As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem.
What would you say if I banned you from using any evidence and or unallowed to continue the trial if the opportunity arises that you concede defeat? I should specify that... Hang on, what was the wording in that? I'm just gonna... Okay. Well, you could do that, but it only lasts 5 minutes. See? I just have to do something else for 5 minutes. That particular option, while it is while it could be used here, it would probably be better used in the Mario 64 streams or the or Thursday Night Terror. But if you wanna do it here, be my guest.
No. And why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Bring forth the witnesses once more.
All right, I gotta hydrate. Thank you.
Witnesses! I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure.
Oh, yes, sir, that I did, sir.
Of course I heard it.
Oh, yes, sir, I heard it.
You, sir, in the end, the coachman. I believe it's Beppo?
Yes, sir, my lord, sir.
If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you were attempting to veil the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You were advised to bear that in mind, sir.
Oh, mio Dio. Oh,
excuse me.
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgivings brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination.
Ah, there's the look on the guy.
I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it, but,
Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
he fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
I tell you, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes.
Counsel, make sense of this for me, please.
The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cousinage. Cousinage? I don't know how to pronounce that. Cousinage. Cousinage. Cousinage?
Beppo, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster.
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board. You know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare? I can't settle on a voice for that guy.
It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty.
You have been dishonest, coachman.
I'm sorry.
You're a disgrace, Beppo, a disgrace! And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild!
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week.
What?!
4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the result come out differently.
No, that figures.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please.
We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games.
Absolutely! Sorry, I couldn't help inject a bit of my own emotion in there.
I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it, but,
Keep going. Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
it's the fare he did, and I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
Dude, I saw McGilded stabbing that man. Everything I said...
Hold it!
See, you're still the guy I trust the least out of the 3 of you. So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGilded, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him? That's what I said, isn't it? You hesitated, buddy. It was bothering me before this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only the 2 of them inside the carriage, wasn't there?
There's been much talk of a 5th passenger, but as yet, 0 evidence.
Then what are we wasting all this time for, huh? It's black and white! The man's guilty! Something about Mr. Fairplay's testimony just jars with me. Wish I could work out what it was.
Yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes.
Hold it!
Posture check. Thank you.
Earlier, you attested that you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip. I suppose. I might have, yes, put the cart before the horse, maybe.
What's this?
Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horses when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expect that was me, sir. Then when I just turned around, yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes. And the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes.
Why do you look like that?
So, in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought that I did, but...
Okay, so they caught that. Good.
But when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing. Did I?
And pursue! Did he just shout, "Struth"? Oh my gosh.
You have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay?
Now you listen to me! I know what you're thinking! He didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Ah!
Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment the crime was committed?
I'm gonna go back through what he said. Precise moment of the stabbing. Okay. Turn around. Can I go back to what Fairplay was saying? Okay. He was sitting next to him. Okay. Counsel for the defense. Okay. Pleasure of protracted. Okay, no. This is what I want here. Mr. McGill is stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands. Defendant stabbing, yes. Only the two of them inside the carriage. Zero evidence. Black and white. Okay. Jars. Okay. Hold it. Victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding. Right. Oh, right, because, yeah. Okay. Excuse me. Didn't really see the exact moment the fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Are you asking me or telling me? Okay. Can I... What do I say here?
Talking in an Australian accent for 5 minutes.
Just give everyone an Aussie accent.
Like I said, results may vary. I'll try it. Give you a gobful. 5 minutes. Let's try this and see what happens. Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through the skylight on the top of an omnibus, that is. Peeping? I'm a respectable city maker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it as clear as a bowler at day. It's a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. Would I ask you to supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw?
Aram, this is, you see,
Okay, the difference is... the difference is... The highlighted message, just a request. I'm just doing that for fun. Change voice is specific to one character and lost the rest of the stream. Unless someone else changes it. The voice changing thing was kind of a last minute addition before I went live today. So, future, I think it just won't take requests like that from the highlighted messages. Leave the change voice thing to... but hey, feeling charitable today because we hit affiliate, right? I think it's fair dinkum we hit this. Actually, maybe Fair Play should have an Aussie accent. Maybe. Well, either way, still got 2 more minutes of this. Oh, I can do that all right. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after that butcher stabbed the man? Blood-soaked hands? Hands. Plural.
Objection.
Blood-soaked hands? Well, I meant that soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay. That's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGilded, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-coloured stain there. But, as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. Alright, I'll stick with this then. Fair play. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. But no, that can't be right.
So you're the liar here, then?
And by my watch, that's 5 minutes. Actually, maybe another 30 seconds. That's right, you were quite clear about it. You said it was both hearts. Okay, now I'm off the hook. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands. It was only one. But the fact remains. The victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection.
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically stated that he saw blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. Why? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. That doesn't really change much of anything, Spoinker, but sure. Non-dominant hand only for 5 minutes. Thanks for the ideas. Actually, I might implement some of these as proper bit changes after this stream. So that's all right. I like what you're doing here. But is that really the case? No, he has every reason to lie, and we found that out already. Mr. Naruhodo, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide in this trial completely. Something to show this man has a compelling reason to lie in his testimony. I have evidence. My lord.
Yes, counsel?
The defense is ready to present evidence.
By Jove, are you sure?
Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony.
Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court.
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGilded.
Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion.
The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay.
What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused?
Ah, no! Well, it's badly worthy of being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas. Not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGilded were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case?
These documents state the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist.
Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you had never in fact saw in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant?
Order! 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 Mr. Bruce Fairplay!
Yes, my lord!
Let me ask you again, and be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim?
Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. All right, now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGillicud's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. So you keep saying. I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. First.
Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens. Seeing what? Did his hair just clip through his hat? I think it did. The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think... Yes. I'm almost sure that it was on both of his hands, not just one. What? What?!
It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear?
Yes! Mr. Naruhodo, this is good news! The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes! I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say that I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters. I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attackers' hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself, no. Not until I heard that scream.
Anyway, fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage, or we all would have seen.
Pick two wrong people to pit against each other. Unfortunately, that doesn't really, I can't really do that, because this isn't a jury thing. What's it called? The summation thing. The appeal thing.
Lo and behold, truth fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated.
I apologize, my lord, but honestly... there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood! That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it!
That's really not what testimony is about. I can't do that, Spoinker. That's not how this works. I apologize. The highlighted message is just so that people see. Is just so that your message stands out in the chat. That's all it is.
Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case.
Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel.
Yes, my lord. Well, I have no idea, so time to start pressing. No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record.
I'm well aware of that, sir, but nevertheless... I know what I saw, and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands.
He's defiant even in the face of hard evidence. He's steadfastly refusing to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw. But why?
Your reasoning is dire. On Andor 2, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused's fingers.
Quivering guy equals strong voice certain man for 5 minutes. You're gonna need to be more specific. Do you mean Mr. First or Beppo? Beppo's the guy who looks like he's cold, like really cold, freezing. And the guy who keeps adjusting his hat is the other guy. Mr. First. Which one did you mean?
Hold it!
Okay, Beppo. It's Beppo. Don't try to downplay this. I'll start the clock now. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance, as well you know.
But... for crying out loud, we all know that no one else could have possibly have done it. I was just trying to save us all some time.
You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty?
That's not entirely not what I was hoping for. I just lost a little guinea of 10 when I backed the wrong horse in the derby, that's all. I was gonna win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend. It's a sure thing.
A little guinea or 10?
I'm a banker. No one bats an eye for borrow a little spending money for the weekend.
I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir.
This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness.
Is that really how it's supposed to work?
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attackers' hands with blood on them.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too? Blood on both hands? Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're gonna say. Only one of Mr. McGilded's gloves has any signs of blood on it.
That's right.
The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGilded sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir.
He wasn't wearing these gloves?
That's correct, sir. And I saw the blood on both his bare hands quite clearly.
It's true that the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see.
I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there was no trace of blood on Mr. McGilded's gloved hands.
There wasn't blood on his hands? Then how did that stain get there?
This is puzzling indeed.
This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it. Alright, here we go.
I didn't actually see anything myself, no. Not until I heard that scream.
How's that?
Hold it!
You didn't see anything.
Oh yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. Very sorry about what I said before, sir. Very sorry, yes. It was very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Wouldn't you agree, sir?
I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories. Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir. I saw nothing at all. Mr. Beppo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London's streets, no? Oh, please, you didn't even see that.
It was so cold that night, you see. It was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, my head was fairly frozen solid. Sorry to say, sir. It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. Beppo! Ah!
Anyway, the fact remains there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage we all would see.
Hold it!
And everything you saw of the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus? That's right. It was fiercely cold that night. Glass wasn't frosted over.
Oh yes, I remember I was shivering, it was so bitter.
It rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place.
Well, I don't know about this young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin.
Oh? Why not?
It was locked from the inside. Tried knocking, but no one opened the door.
It was locked?
That's right, it's a public bus service, for pity's sake. That's not what I call fair play.
Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below.
I can assure you I wasn't just looking down, I was glaring, long and hard. That's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence. If there was anyone else at all in that cabin, I would have noticed.
Unequivocal, I would say.
I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight?
They might not have been able to.
Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight in the floor of the upper deck. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there is a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you. What? By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meandering, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh.
Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus are you suggesting that this potential extra passenger could have been situated?
I'm gonna go court record just to be absolutely certain of one thing. Okay. Okay, so this is that view, front view. In here. Okay. Good. Right.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin, which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight, is as I've drawn here.
Ah!
Okay, so it's not the compartment yet. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite the one on which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidding habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity.
I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In the British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you're able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude.
Can you, Mr. Naruhodo? Not yet, I don't think. I honestly don't know. Who could it have been? Apprentice milliner who witnessed the incident from a seat on the roof deck. City banker, Eyewitness. I see. Okay. So that's... Who could have been in the other seat, which was out of sight from the witnesses on the roof deck? For now, I think I'm just going to say this. I have literally no idea. But as a proud citizen of the Japanese Empire, you will look to the sky and walk on, making sure all sights of tears are gone. Go on. This isn't just a case of going on, Miss Susato. Oh, all right then, I'll go on. The defense would like to put forward a name. Okay, so I do have to put forward a name, somehow.
You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learnt.
He has another chalice? I thought he only had the one chalice, and then he crushed it in his hands.
Let's not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat.
This could be it. This could be the chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, on the night of the murder, the person occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view was... Occupying the seat in the omnibus cabin that was obscured from view. Hang on. Can I... I can't see the court record. Why can't I see the court record? So those two were up top. He was driving the thing. It was either this guy or this guy. I did notice that the hat looked weird, but they would have noticed if it was a different guy. And that seat with the blood stain on it was across from the... So I'm going to go with this guy first.
Take that!
Oh wow, that actually works. The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see... Oh... They saw someone they thought was McGilded, but it wasn't McGilded. McGilded was actually in the other seat, sleeping. Has to have been Mr. Magnus McGilded. Mr. McGilded?
What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant!
Yeah, but they saw the guy
Objection!
stabbing the other guy.
What is a man? A miserable pile of secrets!
That's a pretty apt description of this trial, though, to be fair.
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hallowed chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Sakes!
People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly.
What are you trying to say?
Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses have attested to the fact. It is the very premise on which this case is built.
But that premise may be wrong.
What?
If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGilded, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way.
What inconsistency, counsel?
The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains.
Objection!
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance.
Yes, their testimony remains unchanged.
Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of events is correct, and their testimony reveals the truth. It was somebody else sitting beside the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify. And the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party?
Obviously, the true culprit!
Extraordinary! Order! 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 What exactly are you postulating?
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces.
Yes. Tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I can see the rest of them now.
Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir.
And what particular styles of hat did the two gentlemen sport, Mr. First?
I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter?
The style of hat makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin.
How can you be sure?
Because if there had been, the accused, Mr. McGilded, would undoubtedly have offered to depose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed even to notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled.
No, I think the third guy got on after McGilded fell asleep. He's right. There was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus. It's inconceivable that Mr. McGilded would have been unaware of it.
Order! There is clearly a simple solution to this problem.
Bring the accused, Mr. McGilded, to the stand.
Well, what say you, counsel?
The prosecution objects, my lord.
On what grounds?
As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police.
But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely?
Magnus McGilded is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act.
Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion?
My lord, should we ask Mr. McGilded to testify or not? I say we demand his testimony. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGilded to the stand.
In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury.
Yes, I need a little time to consider this.
If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGilded has to say.
Get the man out here, I say!
It would be utterly illogical not to hear his testimony.
When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild.
Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say? Oh yes, that would be lovely.
Yes, the jury says the man must be heard. Very well, the court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once.
Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear.
Let proceedings be resumed. Mr. McGilded, have you been listening to the discourse of the day?
To be sure I have, my lord.
There are now two matters on which the court desires to hear from you. The first is whether or not there was a third party with you in the omnibus cabin as proposed by the defense. The second is that if such a person was indeed present, why did you conceal that fact from the police?
Big God, no! 'Tis not in my nature to hide anything at all.
Just answer the questions, please.
The truth of the matter is, I've been desperate about this all along. Do I tell you all or keep my mouth shut?
Tell us what, Mr. McGilded? Alright, have fun, Spunker. Thanks for tuning in.
The fine fellow representing me is absolutely right. In the carriage on the night with myself and the other man, there was another passenger.
It's true.
Aye, it was me who helped the little urchin get away after it all happened.
You... What?!
No, Magnus McGilded. That convenient excuse can't save you now.
I'm truly sorry, so I am Lord Van Zeeks. I'm sure you'll be wanting to know why I said nothing when I was taken in by the police. I do be having a very good reason, I assure you.
Which was?
Well, The little child was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, not in any way involved, you see. What? If the police had known the V1 was there, they'd have assumed she'd done it. They'd have hauled her into this here courtroom just like myself. I was only trying to spare her that. Young hearts and young minds are easily damaged, my lord.
Who was this young child of whom you speak?
That I don't know.
You don't know?
Aye, well, the wee thing just happened to be in the carriage that night. I never saw her before or since. We have absolutely no reason to believe this man. The prosecution calls for the witnesses' statements to be disregarded by the court. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if the urchin isn't here in this courtroom as we speak, listening to the proceedings. What? Ah! Smoke! Ah! Fire! There's a fire! Look! Someone's trying to get away! After them! It's no use! I can't see anything through all this smoke! What's going on? Be careful, Mr. Naruhodo! Cover your face!
Bailiff, don't let the accused escape! Secure the omnibus! I hereby call an emergency recess! Bailiff, ensure the defendant is in custody and clear the courtroom!
Oh boy. We were hurriedly removed from the smoke-filled courtroom by the bailiff, amid scenes of chaos as people stumbled over one another in their desperation to flee the chamber. We had no idea what was happening. All we knew was that for the time being, at least, the trial was suspended. To be continued. Alright, still got another hour in the time slot. We'll just keep going until either 6 o'clock or I'm called to dinner. Save your current progress? Yes! Right here. Trial part 3. That was the first 2 parts? Okay. Hang on, there's one thing I gotta check. Okay, let's see. Keep going, keep going. Okay. Okay. All right. It's all good. We can go now. 18th February, 12:52 p.m. The Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. What on earth just happened in there?
Mr. Naruhodo, I've managed to find out what happened. Miss Susato, I was told it was an advanced form of smoke grenade, a type of exploding device that releases smoke.
A smoke grenade? It sounds like the sort of thing ninjas use.
They're just making sure everything is safe now. I think the trial will start again before long.
But who would have done something like that?
The police managed to catch someone who was trying to flee the courtroom, apparently.
Flee the courtroom? Why?
Well, it's a young girl of around 15, I hear.
A young girl? Then could it be? The other passenger that Mr. McGilded was just talking about?
My thoughts exactly.
So he wasn't lying. Oh! What's become of Mr. McGilded? What's become of Mr. McGilded, actually? There are so many things I need to ask him about, but he's not here.
I think he was summoned to the prosecutor's antechamber to answer questions, along with the young girl.
Who is she, I wonder? And what was she even doing here at the trial? She was taking a huge risk, and for what possible benefit to herself?
There's another matter that's troubling me.
What's that?
The 20 pence.
Oh,
According to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 4 passengers that night at a fare of 5 pence each. That comes to a total of 20 pence exactly.
But now it seems there were in fact 5 passengers.
Which means the figures don't seem to add up again.
She's right. That is strange. Counsel for the defense, kindly proceed into the courtroom. I think the girl may have been a stowaway. Under the seat, perhaps? The trial will recommence in 5 minutes. Oh, thank you, officer. We'll go in straight away.
Well, whoever she is, I imagine this young girl will be asked to take the stand and testify now. I really can't imagine what she's going to say, but it could alter the whole direction of the trial.
We'll know soon enough, Mr. Sato.
Yes!
There's the young girl next to Mr. McGilded. Look. She must have been the one who caused the disturbance before.
Well, after that rather eventful recess, the court will now resume the trial of Mr. Magnus McGilded. Now then, Lord Van Zeeks.
My lord?
I believe you have established the cause of the smoke which failed proceedings earlier.
It seems to have been an advanced form of smoke grenade, the sort typically employed by the army.
Good gracious, the army! What in the devil's name?
It was an elaborate attempt by a young girl to cloak her escape from the public gallery, but she was caught. And now occupies the stand.
Your name, girl?
Oh. Oh! Well, we'll get the name.
Are you responsible for the smoke grenade which induced such pandemonium here in my courtroom? What is the meaning of this deplorable behavior?
If I may, my lord,
Yes, Mr. McGilded?
I think perhaps I ought to explain here. Why is it that this wee lass was here in the first place, and why she tried to bolt like that? It is all tied up with the events of that night, so it is.
Very well, Mr. McGilded. Give your testimony. You will explain to the court exactly how this young woman is involved in the case.
Just what did happen that night? It's not like a defense lawyer needs that information or anything. All right, we're gonna save here. It turns out, yeah, dinner is indeed here, so I'm gonna end it here. There, save. Here, yep. Okay. There. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll try to have the I'll try to have the points system finalized there soon. But make sure to tune in. Make sure to follow if you haven't, obviously, and make sure to tune in Tuesday and Thursday for Mario 64 and more Inscription. You ask me, Perry seems to be all talk and no, all bark and no bite when it comes to the card stuff. Don't know why. Really would have expected him to be better. Oh well. See what he's up to then, anyways. Till next time, comrades.